I think I might be live. I'm trying to figure out if I'm actually running or not. It's been so long since I did a live stream, I actually can't remember if I've set everything up right or not. But I think it is. I think it's all running. So if you happen to be watching on YouTube or Facebook, please pop a little note in the chat to say hi. Thank you very much, Lisa. Hello, Kate. Nice to see you. Yay. Looks like everything's working. You see, once you've got it, you never lose it. Well, I'm hoping that the technology keeps working anyway. Hello, Anne. Nice to see you. So here we are. First live stream for a very long time. I used to do loads of these, and I guess life just got kind of busy. I've been teaching a lot. I've been painting. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for leaving those notes, letting me know that you're there and watching. It just really helps to know that I have actually set everything up right and I haven't made any major mistakes. So what's happening today? Well, today is this painting. You can see the reference photo that it was painted from there, just to the right. Single yellow rose, but this has already had 2 stages on it, this painting. So, hello, Wendy. Hello, Becky. Nice to see you. Becky, don't we need to have a chat about the coaching program? I don't know, we had a chat, didn't we? No, we had a chat. It's all right. Sorry, it wasn't you. There's someone I still need to have a chat with, and I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. We had a nice chat. You're very welcome, Anne. I've missed live sessions as well. So yeah, I was talking about this painting anyway. So what's happened so far is it's had an underpainting, which probably looked something like this. This is an earlier stage underpainting. And then the underpainting was scraped. You can still see the lines with this knife. And sanded with sandpaper and generally abused and distressed. And then that was oiled out, covered with a thin layer of oil. And then I put the first colour over that. So some bits of the underpainting you can still see. And I kind of deliberately didn't do all of the leaves. And some parts of the rose are still the underpainting. So what I've been doing, for anyone who hasn't seen me paint for a while, which is probably most of you, for some time, I've been working on approaches to moving beyond like a really close replication of the reference photo, because after all, you know, what can happen a lot when you're painting from a reference is that you kind of get sucked into just making ever more exact copies of the photo, you know. And the paintings can start to feel a little bit stale. So this scraping and sanding is a way to break down the surface a little bit further, to kind of open up the possibilities, open the door to a few more possibilities of what might happen with the painting, a little bit of magic in. And I love this kind of texture. So what am I going to do with this today? Well, I'm going to sand it. I think I'm going to sand it a little bit. I like the way here that it's almost disappeared. I'm going to attack it with sandpaper. And I think I'm going to put a glaze over the whole thing, because it would be really easy at this point. Well, it wouldn't be easy, but the obvious thing for me to do would be to finish the rose, to start working on the detail and everything. You know, I've been quite careful with the colour, so we've got this nice glow of the reflected light coming through the petal. That would be the obvious thing for me to do. So I'm not going to do that because, you know, I don't want this painting to get stale. I want to keep some possibilities in it. So I'm going to sand it, and then I'm going to put a glaze over the whole thing. I haven't decided what yet. I'm going to work that out as I go, and then I'm going to wipe it back, and then I'm going to paint into it some more. No idea how long I'll be going today. I mean, this is basically just, it's not a teaching session, I'm just painting. What am I putting out? Lead white, raw umber, transparent red oxide, green gold. Very useful for these two together. Transparent red oxide and green gold, very useful for these kind of shadow areas. Let's have some quinacridone rose, because it's not actually really in the rose, but nice in the background, a little tint of that maybe. And all of these colours, you will probably have noticed, are very transparent. Staining colours. Work really well with glazes, so I'm going to do quite a lot of glazing. Bright yellow lake, greenish yellow, again organic pigment, very transparent. Probably don't need much more in there. Where's my black though? Oh, I have some black. Can't paint without black. Ooh, what's this? Quinacridone gold brown. Let's put some of that on there as well. So for anyone who hasn't been on one of these live streams before, or it's been so long since I've done one that you've forgotten what I do, basically these are the informal free live sessions that I do where I'm painting anyway, so I turn on the cameras and I talk nonsense for a little while and attempt not to zone out and stop talking while I paint for a little bit. Hello, Lisa from Virginia. Nice. I don't actually know where that is. I mean, I know it's in the US. I'm not a complete... I'm not completely ignorant of geography, but I must admit I am rather ignorant of US geography, apart from the couple of places that I've been to. And I've been to Florida, funnily enough. Hello, James from Florida. I've been to, where did I go? I can't even remember what it's called, it was years ago. I have no idea where New Jersey is. Hello, Debbie, it's good to see you too. Kathy, nice to see you. Yeah, I've been really quiet. A couple of people have emailed me. I hadn't realised I'd been so quiet, you know, but oh, Virginia is on the East Coast. Nice. So it must be quite early in the morning there, like 10 o'clock or something, 10:30. Right, Lisa? Yes, so I hadn't actually realised that I've been at like radio silence for a little while. I've just been busy putting together a new intensive teaching program. That's been the thing I've been mostly busy with. Sandpaper, let's get some really rough stuff. What's this? 180 grit wet and dry. The thing with this is not to be too precious about it. See, there's something going on here that I like where the flower kind of melts away into the background. So let's just scratch. I just like that there. And there's something interesting going on here where the colour of the rose is bleeding into the background. Nothing is really, this is maybe a bit rough. What else have I got? What's this? 800 grit, probably too soft. I've been using this for sharpening pencils, so it's got graphite on it. A bit more gentle. See, I know this probably seems kind of extreme, what I'm doing here. But when I put a glaze over this and paint back into it again, a lot of this will be kind of knocked back and will be quite subtle. So why sand the surface of the painting? Texture, life, and to keep me from just getting ever closer to that reference photo. I don't think I need to do more than that really. So this is a little bit of terps. Any solvent will do for this. This is just to, because I've sanded it, I don't want any paint particles on the surface, so I had to give it a quick wipe down with terps. And now I've got linseed oil in here. I'm going to add a little bit of solvent to the linseed oil. Give me a nice medium for oiling out, and I'm going to use the makeup sponge and oil this out. Now, this is quite a light painting, and I want to keep it like this. I find a lot of the time that lighter paintings with lighter backgrounds tend to look a little bit more kind of contemporary, and ones with very dark backgrounds can sometimes look more like, tend towards old master sort of type painting. In case anybody hasn't seen this, I will show you a painting that I did this way with a dark background that is finished now. So this had all of these scrapes and stuff, and they've become much less obvious as you work on the painting, as you work through it. So I just want to oil this out so I've got a nice slick surface to paint onto. James says, what surface are you sanding and painting on? This is an ampersand gesso board panel. Can't remember if I primed this one or not. Sometimes I prime them with oil primer when I've got the time to do it. Hello, Stephanie. Nice to see you. Glad you're here. 12:30 in Texas. I'll tell you what time it is here. It is 18:42. 18 minutes to 7. It's kind of late here, and I haven't had my dinner yet, so I'm apologising in advance for if my tummy starts grumbling. Hello, big fella. You all right? Are we letting the cat in? Come on then, little man.
Oh, go in.
Come on then. You going football?
Yeah.
Have fun. See you later. I love Bouguereau. Would you ever leave it in that stage? It looks very ethereal and very interesting at that stage. Yeah, it does. Yeah, quite often I'm tempted to leave them at the underpainting stage and not put any colour on them at all. But you know, I mean, painting is kind of like, it's a painting is a journey. Is, you know, and who knows what interesting things might happen. The moment of truth has arrived, so I need to decide what I'm going to glaze over this with. I think I want it to keep this kind of ethereal sort of look. So I think I'm going to glaze over the whole thing with something which is quite close to the background value, which technically I suppose you could probably say is a scumble. I don't know. People have, you know, theories about what is and isn't glazing. When I talk about glazing, what I generally mean is I've oiled out the surface of the painting and then I paint into it. And if I feel that I put with just normal paint, you know, I don't mix a glaze with medium. And then if I feel that I've overdone it, then I will wipe it back. It's about the right value. Too light. So this is, all I've got here is lead white and ivory black. Now these are not, lead white is kind of transparent, a little bit compared to titanium white. Ivory black isn't transparent. These are opaque colors. So this is going to kind of cover the thing, we'll obliterate it. That's about the right value. Maybe, yeah. But I don't want to do it just grey. Let's try with it. Ooh, what should we put in it? What, little man? Little man wants attention. And who can blame him? I'm sorry, I'm painting. Yeah, I'm sorry. You can have a little pat. So this is like unplanned. I don't know how this is going to turn out. It might end up a complete disaster. I don't know yet. A little bit more chroma. See what happens. Do I like this colour? I think I do. Royal Blue from West Australia. It's 1:45 a.m. Wow, you can't sleep. Anna says, do you paint over consecutive days or do you wait until it dries? Yeah, always wait until it dries. So that's a frustrating thing in a way about this method, this approach, is that you have to let each stage dry. Sometimes a couple of days is enough, or sometimes it needs a week or so. So it's good to have like one or more paintings going at once. Okay, hold your breath. My God, what are you doing? I know. It seems horrendous, but you know, what I'm doing mostly is I'm avoiding getting myself too wound up in trying to do a perfect version of the photo, right? Now that's ethereal. Now it's ethereal. I wonder what would happen if I tried some of this. What is it? Quinacridone Gold Brown. It's a little bit too high chroma. Put some black in with it. Bit of white. I'm just thinking what I can add. What might be nice to add to this. So I want to quinacridone gold, brown and green gold. What will that give me? Interesting. And black. To drop the chrome. Add white. To bring the value up. This is looking too chromatic. That's very chromatic. How's that going to work? I think that's probably too close to the shadow colour on the inside of the rose. Like, it's like around there. I don't know. So Simon had to look away and Lisa gasped. I know, right? So this is like, I think of this process as like a push and a pull. So I've pushed this a long way away from the reference photo, obviously, and I've pushed it a long way away from like any kind of an attempt to make a nice kind of finished piece of work, carefully finished piece of work. So, and I pushed it too far. I've sanded it, you know, and I've obliterated the painting. So now I need to pull it back. And somewhere out of this process of pushing and pulling comes, I feel personally some magic starts to happen. So I'm going to start wiping this glaze off now so that this rose begins to reappear. So I like this bit where it kind of, you see where it disappears. it start to come back. So the actual painting that I did underneath previously was done pretty carefully, you know, point of view of the accuracy of the drawing and the colour. See, she's starting to appear again out of the nothingness. Pull the painting back. Interesting. So now it's easier for me to think about like the big picture as well, like the composition. You know, you see, I like this shape down here, but I felt it was too strong before. It was like a kind of in your face, so this has kind of knocked it back, and then I can allow it to, all of these leaves actually to reappear a little. And I don't have to, I've already painted them, so I don't have to paint them again, you know. I just need to wipe the glaze back and they reappear, and I can kind of think about compositionally. I can think about this a little bit differently now. I'm less tied. This leaf over here is more important than I thought. I like this one pushed back. You see, if I'd have just carried on working on that, I probably would have left this as very defined, and it was too strong, you know, it was taken away from the rose. But this one here is really nice, this shape. I think I like this one up there. And I've got a little bit more going on in the background now. So you see how everything kind of gets muted, you know, so the madness of the sanding and the scraping sort of gets muted, and it becomes just like, it becomes just texture and life. Whew. Well, I'll come out the other side, and I think it's gonna survive. I think this painting is gonna live. Nigel, hello. Could I just ask what copier you use for your reference photos, please? I don't. I paint from a color-corrected digital screen when I'm working from a photo. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like one that filmmakers use and people who do digital photography. I would much rather paint from a screen because the value balance is better, and also I like this here. The value balance is better, and you get a wider gamut, wider value range on a screen than you do on a printed photo. And also, you know, I've yet to see any kind of domestic printer which is even a professional printer which is capable of the level of color accuracy that I like. I've recently had some prints done of some of my work, and I don't think the printer liked me very much by the end of it. I was so exacting about the color, you know, going down there with Munsell chips. Like, no, this is the color that's supposed to be there. Why have you got this color? Why can't your printer do it? And it's like, okay, we'll try again. God, it was like that painter keeps coming around with those Munsell chips and his paintings. What? I wish we could get rid of him. Why did you promise him that you would do the prints? I know. It's too late now. We've told him we'll do it. I think they're probably making a loss. But I ended up with some prints I was quite happy with by the end. One thing I've learned about getting prints done is that it's a compromise, and that the print is not the painting. And to an extent, it's about making, you can get it as close as possible to the painting, but the print is something different, and it's about making a good print. It's not just about perfection. Right, so let's have a think about, so I think I probably want to intensify the reflected light in there. This kind of like transmitted light that's coming through. So I'm thinking mostly at the moment in terms of bigger things, like the big picture, not the details. when I get onto the details, it will be excruciatingly slow, I promise you. And not much fun to watch. This kind of stuff when you're sanding and scraping, and that's like the fun bits. Let's put some more chroma in there. So I know that from a hue point of view, this is somewhere like right. I'm deliberately intensifying the chroma a little in this area because, you know, why not? And I love the way these transparent pigments kind of stain in a quite a subtle way. Let that bleed out over the edge. So I'm slowly beginning to pull painting back to being a painting again. So I'm just looking for that effect of the reflected light, the transmitted light, I suppose it should more correctly be called, which is travelling through the petals. That's nice. I'm going to see if I can bring in deep shadow in the centre of the rose now, I think. Yeah. Oh, Francis, the panel is an 8x10 ampersand panel. Lisa says, I don't know if I would have been brave enough for that, but I'm loving the effect you're getting now. Yeah. Well, I've done this a few times now, so I kind of, in a sense, I kind of knew that it wasn't going to completely fall apart. Maybe hoped. Hoped. But that's part of the point, you know, is to push it somewhere where it wouldn't normally go. There's some really beautiful, strong orangish light in the middle of those shadows. See, I know what the values are because I have this handy Munsell scale. And I know how to translate the values that I see in a photo using Photoshop. The L values of the C-Lab scale, I realise that's probably a little bit too technical for most people. But I know that I can translate the values exactly if I want to. I know that I want quite high chroma, and I know the value that I want. Or personally, as long as I get roughly the right hue, I'm happy. For a long time, as you all know me, right? For a long time, I've been very particular about my color, and especially about getting what might be called accurate, objectively accurate color. And the reason I was so interested in that, to a large extent, is because, well, one, because there's so much to learn about color, and our visual systems are really not very good at picking it up. Not very good at judging color. And also because you can, after a while, you can begin to extrapolate principles of color which you can apply more freely, let's say. So I know that the shadow colors here are going to go higher chroma and more towards orange. So I can reflect that in the way I paint. And for those of you who are used to me having a bunch of Munsell chips while I paint, obviously today I don't have them. Munsell is hugely useful, I think, for helping you understand colour, but it's a double-edged sword. And one of the things that I've noticed, especially with some of the people that I teach, is that it can become difficult to do without once you come to rely on it. And at the end of the day, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but at the end of the day, if you want to move to a more, let's say, an expressive form, an expressive approach to colour, then you've got to be a little bit careful because it might stop you getting there. I still teach it, obviously, because I think it's incredibly useful and powerful learning tool. I find I'm using it less and less in my process now, and I'm moving towards a slightly freer interpretation of colour. But it's kind of I'm doing that, like, that's the way it does too much. I feel that I've earned it through spending long time, years really, understanding colour first. You see, what's really beautiful about this is by the time you get out here, all the chroma has gone, pretty much. So I'm mixing on the fly, but I'm being very careful of my values. Value being the most important part of painting. Closely followed, in my opinion, by chroma. Hue you can play with quite a lot without breaking anything. Pull that back a little bit. So I'm just looking for the overall, like a kind of an overall colour balance at the moment. And then, you know, I will start to work in some more details. Let's let this come out. Bleed out. So I suppose you could say what I'm kind of moving towards a little in my painting now, which I think it's probably always been there. I'm just bringing it out more now. Is almost a kind of I'm looking for some kind of an emotional resonance to the pieces, and it's not difficult. It's not easy, sorry, to put into words what that is. I've been talking to a lot of people who run my coaching program lately and having discussions about this stuff, and I think a lot of it comes down to, you know, we live by metaphors a lot of the time. You know, we say we feel up or we feel down. Someone is open or they're closed-minded. You know, you think about it, we use metaphors all the time. And I think there's a kind of a language of, a metaphorical language of definitely light and shadow, which is difficult to put into words, but painting is extremely well suited to. And those metaphors can evoke feelings. And that's where I'm trying to head. That's where I'm going. Highlight. So in terms of the color balance, so I found my reflected light color. I'm finding The higher chroma oranges in the middle going out to the low chroma on the outside. I love this part of the rose here. So this is like I'm trying to work out the balance. So now I want the highlight. The lightest values, where are they? How high are they? This is like high value. Simon says, how far do you think you could go with hue? Could you switch that orange you just put in the center for, say, a blue with the same chroma of value? You totally can. Yes, you totally can. And I've been thinking a lot about those things lately. And there are painters who already do this. They do it in a more kind of an intuitive way, if you like. An intuition, like in painting anyway, I suppose in anything like this, is basically, the way I think about it is, it's knowledge which has become so ingrained and so well developed that it's moved to like an unconscious level of processing. So you make decisions without maybe always knowing exactly why you made a particular decision. So a painter who does that very thing, whose work I really, really love, is Susan Lyon, Lyon. She's just lately, she's been posting some incredibly gorgeous portraits. And there was a sketch she did of a black guy the other day. I say the other day, it was probably a while ago now she posted it. So I'm just trying to bring out some of these edges just for the composition, really. And she painted him, all of the highlights, the lights were like low chroma, blue-green, almost grey. And the shadows were like viridian green, like, you know, phthalo green, higher chroma and slightly warmer. And it was just, I thought it was a wonderful use of colour, very creative. Hello, David. Good to see you. Very good. Oh, hello, Diana. Sorry I missed you saying hello. It's always a little bit difficult trying to keep up with them. With the chat. Especially when I'm doing stuff like this, because I find when I'm painting like this, I zone out a lot more than when I'm just following like a more of a, what I suppose you might call standard understandable process. I think it's almost like you need to zone out a little bit with stuff like this. You need to lose yourself a little bit in it. So, you know, I'm thinking in, when I'm mixing color here, I'm thinking in terms of hue, value, and chroma. So, I mean, it is very much Munsell from that point of view. But I'm not using any chips, and the only thing that I'm checking to make sure that I don't go completely awry is the values. You know, if I've got a couple of reference values that I know are about right. I don't want this painting to get really stiff. You know, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that approach. It's just not where I'm headed at the moment. It's always, if I'm expressing opinions about how I paint personally, then it is always what's working for me. It's not like I don't teach the same way that I paint. I know there are a lot of teachers who basically approach teaching as just demonstrating what they do, which I suppose maybe that's what people want, but that's not always what you're going to learn the most from. In fact, to be honest with you, it's rarely what you're going to learn the most from, because you haven't been on the same journey as that teacher. You don't have the same background knowledge. So still trying to paint broadly and generally, pretty much looking for the overall effect. Ooh, that was nice. You know what? I'm going to bring this leaf out. I need some phthalo green. Oh, one of my radio mic's battery is about to run out. I forgot to check that before I started today. Hello, Anita. Good to see you. You got your new studio finished, haven't you, now? That's nice. Anita says, I'm always amazed that you managed to paint and talk at the same time. Honestly, I think I've got to a point now where I don't really think about what I'm saying much. I just externalize what I'm thinking. So it probably ends up complete nonsense sometimes. But you know. See, I'm loving this here. There's a slightly darker low chroma area here, and that's what makes this bit glow. It's all about the value and chroma relationships. Hue, not so much. Hue, I mean, it's really interesting in its own right, but personally, I don't feel it's the stuff that makes or breaks a painting. Everybody talks about value. I mean, everybody knows value is important, right? But personally, I feel chroma isn't given sufficient attention. It makes an enormous difference. Oh, so this feels kind of fragile to me at the moment. Like if I push this too far, I'm going to lose the glow. The glow is there now, and if I'm just a little bit worried that if I push it too far, it's going to go. So having the underpainting showing through is nice because it means you can try color things. And the underpainting underneath is still kind of giving an idea of, oh, that was wrong, of the form underneath. You can paint fairly broadly. Just almost like just staining the surface, really. It's a bit dark. And then as I go further through it, I will work into it more. Got completely sidetracked then. It was the leaf I was going to look at. So this is like, let me show you my infamous leaf green recipe. I'm not a fan of recipes for paint mixing, but this is one that just seems to work so well. I did it wrong. Start off with black. This is an Arrowlight yellow. This one is Michael Harding Bright Yellow Lake. Like Hansa yellow, but a bit more intense. And you get this really nice yellowish green. You want to go for roses, most of the time you want to go a bit more blue-green, so bring in some tallow. And then if I take that color and I mix some white with it, what happens with these leaves is as you go up the value range into the light, the chroma drops right back. Let's try and nail this sort of the value. I'm thinking about this leaf here that I was saying I think is going to be kind of important, because just the gesture of it really. And this one was too strong before. I like where that is now. I want a value 4. That's pretty much bang on. I think I want a bit more chroma. So easy to overdo the chroma though. Let's try that on there and see what we've got. Get another flat brush. What I'm using a lot, what I use a lot for painting flowers is, and leaves especially, is these angled eclipses, Rosemary's angled eclipses. I'm not a big fan of Rosemary's brushes generally, but the synthetics are good, I think. I've got quite a few natural bristles from Rosemary's, and honestly was just not impressed at all. I've got one hog flat that lasted 1 use and destroyed itself. But the synthetics are quite often nice. They're like, I think of them as, I think they're good at making, like, they probably would be outraged to hear me say this, but novelty brushes. Brushes that have particular things that they're good at, like, you know, these angled eclipses are particularly good. I think that's right. At getting into producing really nice sharp edges and getting into small detail areas. They're very good at that. And over here it goes darker. So I want to spend a little bit of time on this leaf just because I think it's important. So I want to see where it's going to fit in the composition. And although on the reference photo and on my previous stage of this painting, this leaf here was the one, you know, it was really standing out. It's too far down and it's too big, and it was just, I didn't like it. And that's one thing about completely obliterating painting, is that it, as I say, opens the doors to other possibilities. So as soon as I knocked that leaf back, I felt better about the painting. It just felt better to me. The composition felt better. It's a personal thing. Some people might do a painting of this and want to really bring that big leaf out. And it might work, you know, it's to say it wouldn't. But not this painting. So I'm painting this leaf a bit more solidly, I suppose. The rest of them, a lot of them, I'm going to leave very knocked back by this glaze. Some parts I'll bring out. I like that there. And there's a dark bit just underneath the rose which can be used to show the outline of those petals. So I'm going to suggest that. So I like this kind of feeling of, I suppose this one, I'm looking for this sort of feeling of it emerging out of kind of the vagueness around it. Maybe we'll let this one show a little bit. See, I'm trying to make interesting shapes with. No. Go away. That tool. Maybe the next one up. Nope. Nope. I think I only want the darker leaf areas to be the ones that are closer to the rose and the detail of this leaf here. It almost feels like it doesn't need a lot more, but you know, I love this feeling of the underpainting sort of showing through. What usually happens is towards the end, like I'll try to bring some areas out, really try and paint some areas, like just little, like around here, probably. Try to paint it really beautifully, like really go to town, and try to paint it really carefully and exactly, and have it just live, and other areas to be like just sort of disappearing into nothingness. I'm quite happy with where this is going at the moment. Does she need a stem? Compositionally, this is the movement, so it would be nice perhaps to have a bit of stem. No, I'm not doing the top of that little vase thing. That is definitely not required. Oh, this is nice. Yeah, I like having this leaf in. Emerging rose. I've been using the word emerge a lot lately. I was talking about this coaching program that I've got going on at the moment. It's a little bit different than the workshops I normally do. There's only a very small number of people on it, and it's like very. I hadn't actually started yet. We're just doing the groundwork for it, but it's a lot more close kind of teaching. But normally, like on a workshop, I will have reference material, and I'll be teaching specific things. See, that leaf has gone too dark now. And everyone will work from the same reference. This program is about moving people on with what they are working on. So it's a lot more individual. And funny enough, it's called emerge. I've just found myself using the word emerge all the time at the moment. This is getting a bit too. I feel like I want to go back to my rose. There's something nice happening in the reference, like around here. There's a lighter area which is just bringing out the bottom of the rose. Let's see if I can do that without destroying. I like this stain here coming down where the colour of the rose is bleeding off into the background, but at the same time I like this slightly lighter area, which is just showing this edge off. I want my cake and eat it. Just, I'm teasing it out. I think of it as like teasing out the flower. Just soften everything a little bit with a dry brush and then back in. So I don't actually know if these paintings are going to find an audience or not. I've been used to previously paintings always selling pretty well, but I kind of feel like these ones I'm starting to work on now are more personal. Maybe they won't resonate with people so much as the ones I used to do. What do you think? I hope they're more resonant. This edge, I think, is important. Hello, Michelle. Nice to see you. I was just saying earlier on, I seem to be using the word emerge a lot at the moment. So I think this probably is. Oh, that was too. No, no. Value is too high. Knock it back. You just pushed the value a little bit too much and it just destroys everything. Let's have something really deep in the middle. Knock down gold, brown, and raw umber because I think it's going to be too high chroma otherwise. Just so I'm not actually. I just want to see. I'm just trying to paint really just broad areas. I suppose I'm kind of, yeah, I mean, I'm just looking for balance, color balance before I try and do any. Like more careful painting of areas of the rose. I'm going to let, what if the background gets darker here? And let that get darker. Yeah, I must apologise. I really do find it, the further I get through this, the more difficult I find it to talk while I'm doing it. You know, when I'm demonstrating something and I'm demonstrating a particular thing like colour mixing, or, you know, that's kind of easier to talk while I'm doing it. But this is like it's. I hope this doesn't sound pretentious, but it's operating on a different level, you know. And it is much more difficult to talk while I do it. The further through I get, and some of the decisions that I'm making are not really, they don't really feel much like decisions. They're just things that are happening, and I'm going with them or I'm wiping them out. God, that does sound pretentious, doesn't it? I'm sorry. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm trying to bring life to this painting that isn't in the photo. Oh, Chris just says, I'm doing a bad job of keeping up with the comments as well. Look, the value scale I see in the camera, is this something you made? No, it isn't. Although I'm actually seriously considering getting some of these made. Because I think Paul Cantore is probably getting annoyed with me by now because he has to send so many of these out. So these value scales are made by Paul Cantore, Centore, and you can get them. It's an exact Munsell value scale, and you can get them on eBay for $10. How cool is that? And because they're laminated, you can actually put paint on it and then wipe them off, so you can really nail the values, you know, of your paint mixes. It's outrageously useful. If you look on ebay.com for Paul Cantore Munsell value scale, it should come up, and just get one, you know. Just get one. I've been trying to think of if there might be a way to make some kind of a chroma scale that would be similarly useful. But the problem with that is that as soon as you have chroma, you have hue. So it starts to get a bit more complicated very quickly. And I'm not sure it can be done. Bad choice. No. Too much chroma, not careful enough. It'll be too dark. Still too dark. So at some point, I'm going to move this. Too dark. Chroma's right though. I'm going to move this painting into the final stage, which is like when I start to resolve some of these smaller forms, and that's nice. Bringing it to a finish, but I kind of like, I like delaying that point as long as possible, and then deliberately sometimes still open it up to other possibilities, like when you feel like you're moving towards the finish, like scrape it back again. glaze over it again. No. But I do think it's really important to have some areas of a painting that are really, really carefully and beautifully painted, you know, against other areas which are a lot more suggestive. The play of the chroma in the center of the rose is beyond fascinating. They're so subtle. It's going to stretch me to make sure that I'm hitting the right values in there and get that difference in chroma. But a lot of I mean, this is a really, really subtle rose. A lot of the beauty of this rose, it doesn't shout, you know, it's subtle, really subtle. If I can catch that, then I'll be very happy. Very happy painter. I can even come close. So subtle. Watch me get the value wrong now. It's going to be too light. No, it's all right. If you need a smaller brush though. So these are kind of almost like notes I'm making now to see what the value and the chroma needs to be there before I go in there and try to actually paint those forms and make them live. Almost like shorthand. But she's coming. This is too light. So then I go and make it lighter. God. I'm sorry if this is excruciatingly dull, but I'm just trying to think it all through. I'm not, maybe that's not the right way to describe it. I feel like I have to kind of, oh, that was wrong. I have to take this stage really slowly. So I'm going into smaller shapes now, and I'm trying to figure out what the chroma and the value is that I need in them. See, this rose is now starting to get more finished, and my hand is straying towards the sandpaper, but I can't do it at this point because it's all wet. But I may sand some of this back further. I think it's coming now. And I'm feeling like I'm kind of at the point with this where I need to take a break and have a look and think about it. tea. Thank goodness my tummy hasn't started grumbling too much yet. Oh, I was trying to catch up with the I'm currently trying to paint. Oh. Sorry, my radio mic's died. Let me sort out my batteries. I have two mics. One is a radio mic, which is attached to me, so that when I wander around, as I do sometimes, not being a very disciplined person, the main mic, which is next to the easel, won't pick me up, but this one will. There we go, we should be back now. Yeah, so trying to paint the view from your studio, that sounds complicated. Do you mean the view out the window, Michelle? I'm thinking now about this transition between this like green yellow of this reflected light with the chroma into the orange, and I need some colors that are moving between. And where do they go? Oh, that was nice. Something popped a bit then. That was very nice. Let's leave that alone and not fuss with it. Sometimes it's just a little thing goes in and it just makes everything sing a little. But just bringing in a little bit more chroma around here and there. That was quite nice. Also, I'm feeling it might be getting a bit too done. It's lost something of that, has it? I don't know. I feel like maybe it's lost something of that kind of ethereal quality that it was getting before. A little bit, maybe. See, I was saying those edges were important, but now I've just softened them. Probably will bring them back later. This is too dark. I don't know what happened there. Make that more vague. That's better. Sometimes I think it's not always easy to tell what's going to make something live more. And it is rarely, you know, in my opinion anyway, is rarely just adding more detail. I feel like that was nice. Change. Oh, I was trying to catch up with the comments. Hello, Renee. Chesapeake Bay. I've heard of that, but I've no idea where it is. Oscar says, oil is just a naturally beautiful material. That is so true. And I feel personally the way that you get the most out of it is to paint in layers. There's some pretty terrible drawing going on here, actually. Does it matter? You know, the transparency of paint is where the magic really starts to happen for me. You can get, you know, the interplay between very opaque areas and soft and blended and hard and sharp, and the transparency and depth that you can get. I don't know. I mean, maybe Maybe watercolor, I mean, it's a very transparent medium, isn't it? So maybe that can get some of that transparency in, but for me, like I work a lot more slowly than I used to with oil paint, and it's a lot more, for me now, it's a lot more about the transparency and the layers. And a subtle effect of light, and it takes longer to do. But the results can be pretty amazing. And it is the most beautiful medium, I think, oil. Not, it can be quite forgiving as well. But you need to be confident with it. It could do wonderful things, but you need to be willing to push it about a bit. Something's wrong here. That's too light. I think I'm going to come back to it another time, though. Just get a little bit of light in here. Yeah. So it's not exactly the reference photo, but I feel like it's going somewhere nice now. Black diamond, thank you. It's hard to find acrylic rose painters. Yeah, I just work in oils. Something. I'm getting the glow. The glow is coming. But I'm looking at my drawing now and I'm seeing some problems. And I'm trying to decide whether I should fix them or not. You know, or should I just roll with it? Because I'm liking the effect. See, I'm really liking this effect around here. It's starting to get the glow. And I think it's probably quite close to done, and it's not going to take very much more, you know, to bring this to a finish. Just got some phthalo green on my petals. And I think it's going to have to live there forever. Because if I try and paint it out, I'll just spread it. Actually, I wonder. Hello, Kathy. Nice to see you. Sorry, I didn't realize you'd joined. I'm so behind on the comments. Yeah. Shadows can be tricky. A lot of it is about the value, obviously, but also chroma. Mostly it's the value. But do please understand that what I'm not trying to do is to get very close to the photo of the rose. What I'm trying to do is to make, hopefully, try to make something from it. I'm happy with the colour now. I'm getting a lot happy with the colour. Hello, Larissa. Nice to see you. Thank you. Thanks, Michelle. I'm about 10 minutes behind on the comments. Hello, Ali. Thank you very much. Thank you, and it's nice to see you too. David said this is painting without a net. It totally is, but you know, and sometimes they just crash, you know. But also, more beautiful things come out this way, I feel. Burne Jones painted without a net, sure. Yeah, the green touches Kathy. So I don't know. I mean, it's just there's this feeling of that this is the feeling of the gesture of the composition. So all I did was I think probably just it felt like, wouldn't it be nice if this color was up there too? And I don't want to overdo it though. You know what? I think I'm going to sign off for now because I'm not sure what this painting needs from this point on, and I feel like I need a bit of a break and a sit down and a cup of tea and probably something to eat and a think about where it's going to go next. But I hope it wasn't too excruciating to watch how slow these paintings come together now. I mean, alla prima painting is a lot more fun to watch when someone's painting live. This is slow, but you know, this is how I'm painting now. So I'm thinking about all of this area around here I really love. I want to work in a little bit of detail around there. I'm probably pretty happy with the background and most of the leaves. Might not do anything to the leaves at all. Just a little bit more on the rose. But what I don't want to do is get sucked into trying to get too close to that reference photo, because I think there's something nice going on at the moment which I don't want to lose. Still trying to think mostly in terms of getting the values in the right place, you know. The values and the chromas. That's like the heart of it. To creating the feeling of the light. Roses are tricky. Tricky, and they need to work on them slowly and carefully. Tease them out. It's easy to make a very small mistake which destroys the feeling of life. The colour is really key. You're all very welcome. I'm glad you all came. It's been such a long time since I did this. Simon says, this is what real painting feels like, though. It's painstaking and thoughtful and intentional. Yeah. Actually, I couldn't have put that better myself. It is absolutely that. Listen, thank you very much, everybody, for coming along. I keep saying this every time I do a live stream out of the blue, and I say to myself, I should do more of this. So I'm going to try and do more of this. I've got a couple of other paintings I'm on at the moment. This one needs to dry probably for about a week now before I come in and hopefully do like what will probably be the final session on it and finish it off. Hi, Lorraine. Yeah, I hope this winter brings more opportunities. What, to see me paint? I can pretty much guarantee it, because I'll tell you what's happening. We're about to move house. Oh, I completely forgot about my third camera. We're about to move house to a farmhouse in the countryside. Oh, that's got too much glare on it, hasn't it, to be usable, really. Didn't realise it had so much glare on it. I thought it would be good to have another camera that was set up closer, but the glare is so bad you can't even see the painting. Never mind. I've got to do something with this and try and figure out a way to do that better. Yeah, so my days are numbered in this studio. I'm actually I'm going to be in a new space soon. A bit of slightly bigger studio. The light is different, so in some ways it might not be quite as good because I haven't quite got north light. But there are other reasons that I think it's going to be good to be there. So I'm looking forward to the move. It's not very far away, it's only about 15 minutes away, but things are going to be a little bit up in the air while I do that. But I'm going to try and stream as much as I can from the new studio, and also, you know, try and relate a little bit that experience, because I've been in this studio for 6 years, you know, so I'm going to have, everything is going to be different. There will be new lights and all of that. So I am planning to stream more. I love this. Simon says, I'd love to see you try a wonky hue version. I can pretty much guarantee that's coming at some point. I'm seeing a value mistake I need to change. Thank you, Lorraine. What a lovely thing to say. Yeah, I mean, I've been teaching from the studio for years. I'm going to have a new one soon with faster internet. Room for more cameras, and it'll be interesting anyway. Listen, I need to go and get some dinner. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. It's always lovely to see you. And I will see you all again very soon.